Hello, it's so nice to be here and to do this, so thank you very much. I want to start by telling you a story, and it's about these two kids, brother and sister, and they go and stay with their granny, and the granny has ducks, and the boy has a new catapult. You can probably see where it's going to go. He's just messing around with it, having a bit of fun. Oh, there's a duck. I wonder what would happen. Wonder if I could make it squawk and fly and quack and that sort of thing. Has a little aim. Really good shot. Better than he's ever done before. Duck falls over, doesn't move. Goes over to see dead duck. And thinks, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? So he just kind of doesn't do anything, doesn't say anything, just hopes nobody will notice. And if his granny does notice, she'll just think it just died of natural causes and nobody will say anything about it. And that's, nobody mentions it. The granny doesn't mention it, and he thinks, oh, maybe it's going to be okay, and I've got away with it. But then his sister comes to him, and she said, I saw you. I know what you did. And if you don't do all the things I'm going to ask you to do, and everything I say, then I'm going to tell Granny what you did. So you have to do all my dishes for the next week. Well, okay, he agrees to that, because what else can he do? He doesn't want his granny to find out. So he does the dishes. And a couple of nights later, there's really amazing chocolate pudding after dinner. And the sister says, oh, didn't you say that you were just really, really full and you couldn't eat any of that and you want me to have your portion of chocolate pudding as well? Oh, yeah, I did say that. Yeah, okay, you can have my chocolate pudding as well. So it goes on and on for the next few days. Everything she can think of, she's just tormenting him. And he's just going along with it, because what else can he do? And eventually he just can't take it anymore. And he thinks, I'm going to have to go and tell Granny, because it's just not worth carrying on like this. So he goes to his granny and he says, Granny, you know that duck that you found a few days ago? Well, actually, it was me. I was playing my new catapult, and I didn't mean it to die. I didn't mean to hurt it. I just thought I'd see what would happen. And she said to him, I know. I was standing at an upstairs window and I just happened to look out into the garden and I saw you do it. And I saw what your sister was doing to you. And I wanted you to come and tell me about it, so that I could tell you that I love you and I forgive you. It's not even a true story, but it makes me emotional, because you understand the significance of it, that we are the boy, Satan is the sister. Have nothing against sisters, I am one. Sisters are the best. But in this story, Satan is the sister. And obviously God is the granny, and that's how it works with us too. And I heard that story, I think about 25 years ago. I can't remember exactly, but I was young and I was at church and somebody told it as part of the talk. And all of us have, I think, if we're honest, at times in our lives, if not all of the time, something in us that we cringe when we think about other people finding out. Maybe something that we did, maybe just something that we struggle to overcome, maybe a way we react to something, maybe an addiction, maybe a pattern of behavior, maybe a one-time event, maybe something that we said to somebody. But I think all of us, at some point anyway, have that thing at the center of us that we just think, oh, we just cringe when we think about anybody finding out. And actually, often I think we hide it from God, because we think, well, how could he love me if he knew about that? And I was kind of thinking about this, and I thought, if our souls were like houses, it's like the cupboard under the stairs. It's very appropriate that we're here this morning for me to do this talk in this lovely house, because when I was thinking about the cupboard under the stairs, I thought like our cupboard under the stairs, because it's so horrendous. It's dark and it's cobwebby. It's dusty, because who cleans the cupboard under the stairs? And it's also full of mold, because we don't really know how it got really damp, and we didn't know for a really long time. So it's like full of mildew. It's disgusting. We have cleaned the mildew out, and we're in the process of building, so we're going to get it all sorted out. But it was just really funny, because we're here and there's nowhere like that in this house. But that's what it's like. That's, that part of us at the center of us is like the cupboard under the stairs. And And then I had these kind of like two contrasting images in my mind of the cupboard under the stairs like ours, and a corner in your house that is so enticing and so nice to be in, and just sunny and bright. And I had these two images like side by side in my mind, and I just really felt God say, you know, that the truth is that there is no corner of your mind, there is no corner of your soul that is so dark and dingy that it cannot be transformed and made beautiful by God. And Satan is busy whispering to us that, you know, if God knew about that, if you let God into that cupboard under the stairs, how could he possibly love you? But that's a lie, because God already knows it's there, and he still loves you, and he actually died for you knowing it was there. I want to read Psalm 34, verses 4 to 5. I prayed to the Lord, and he answered me. He freed me from all my fears. Those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. No shadow of shame will darken their faces. And when we open the door to our cupboard under the stairs and we let the light in and we let him in, when we do that, he brings healing and he brings transformation and he brings radiance. Those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. And it's his work to do. He will do it. He will come in and work with us to do it. It's not something that we have to carry on our own. He does it, and he makes it a radiant space. And the picture I had in my mind, the after picture, if you like, the before and after, was quite a simple picture. It wasn't anything fancy. I was actually looking up on Google, like kind of cozy corners and a cupboard under the stair transformations, to see if there would be a picture I could share. They were all incredibly amazing, but none of them just felt like quite what I had in my mind. What I had in my mind was just a sunny picture of a chair and a plant and the window and like a polished wood floor and just the sun beaming in on it. And I really felt God say really strongly that it's really significant that the chair is there, because our testimony of transformation of our cupboards under the stairs becomes the place that other people can find acceptance and rest and hope and faith and courage to let God into their cupboards under the stairs. And I just found that it's so significant that the chair is there, because it means the place that has been transformed, that has done us good, other people can come into that space and begin their journey of transformation too. Need a drink. Cold and emotion is not a good combination. Oh, I'm so croaky. Okay, so I'm going to look at a couple of verses. The first one is Revelation chapter 12 and verse 11. It's one of my favorite verses. It's so amazing. I mean, obviously they're all amazing, but you know what I mean. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. I love that so much. It's so simple, but it's talking about Satan. And they triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. And it's the same for us. You know, we talked earlier about Satan whispering to us all the time, like, how could God love you if he knew about your cupboard under the stairs? But this is how we triumph. He's doing that to other people as well. He's doing that to people who have never met God, who anytime they consider God and could he really love me? Satan is busy whispering, how could he love you if he knew all about you? But we will triumph over him when by the blood of Jesus on the cross and by the word of our testimony, when we share the story of God's transformation in our lives. It's not always easy to talk about God's transformation in our lives, because it means we have to be vulnerable. We have to say, well, I needed God's transformation too. You know, I'm not perfect, and this is something that I've always struggled with, and well, this is something that I did once. But when we let people in to the fact that we have not got ourselves sorted all by ourselves, but God has done it, God has done the transformation, it gives them such hope that he will do the same with them and that he wants to do the same with them. So that's how we triumph over Satan, by the blood of Jesus and by the power of our testimony. And then it reminded me too of the verse 2 Corinthians 4:7, which I've banged on about for ages because I love it so much. We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. And it's just the same thing again, that through our brokenness, if you imagine yourself as a jar of clay, because we have cracks, because we are not perfect, because we are weak sometimes, the power, the treasure that is God's beauty and power in us shines out through those cracks. People see it more when we allow them to see our brokenness. And it does take courage, but it is so valuable and so worth doing and so necessary. And then the other verse it reminded me of was the one that actually that Andrea spoke a few weeks ago at the end of our City on the Hill series, Matthew 5:16. And in the Message it says this: keep open house, be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. When we open up to other people, when we say, this is who I am, this is the real me, I am not perfect, I am not the finished article, I didn't have to be a certain way for God to love me, I didn't have to be a certain way to go to church, to be in his family. He accepted me as I am, and my church accepted me as I am. And now he is changing me and changing me and changing me. When we open up to other people and let them into that truth, then they will open up with God and their transformation will begin as well. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. And then the other picture that came into my mind when I was thinking about all this, and my technical assistant has just left the room, and this is when I need him, was the picture of Monica's secret room in Friends. Right, I don't know if anyone else here was a Friends fan or is a Friends fan, because obviously it's like all in again. This is so, I just feel so old. Don't you feel so old when things that were like trendy when you were little, then now they're trendy again? And so it makes me feel old. But do you remember Monica in Friends was like this absolute like neat freak? Everything was perfect all the time. She loved cleaning. She cleaned for hours. You know, she was like mega clean, like beyond anything. And that was what she was known for. That was her big thing. But she had this locked door in her apartment and nobody knew what was behind it. And she would never tell anyone and she would never let them in. And I'm going to have a go at doing this because Richie abandoned me. And I wanted to share this with you. Let me see. Where is it? Here. Can you see that? Yeah, cool. This is Chandler this is one of her friends taking the door off to see what was behind it. Isn't that amazing? Watch it one more time. And that was it. Look at that. I mean, incredibly just packed, absolutely full of stuff. Cool. There we go. Can you see me again? Good. Yay. I don't need a technical assistant. And that's what I wanted to say about that. The thing that came into my mind was sometimes our cupboards under the stairs. You missed your big moment. I've done it now. Sometimes our cupboard under the stairs are crammed full like that to the rafters, absolutely to the rafters. But do you know what? Sometimes it's not just full of bad stuff, but it's full of good stuff too. You know, maybe you felt that God was speaking to you about a certain gift, or somebody said to you, you know, I really feel like God maybe has given you this gift, and I think you should step out and try it out, step out in faith and give it a go. And you tried it and it did not go the way you wanted it to, and you felt like an absolute fool and you thought, no way. Or maybe you offered to help somebody and they rejected it. Or maybe you've been told or hinted about that you know, your personality, you're just a bit this, or you're just too this, or you're so, and you kind of think, oh, I need to squash that bit of me a little bit. Or maybe you just feel like you're really different to the culture that you live in. And, you know, when I came to Northern Ireland, I was aware that like there are differences in the, from, you know, the English culture is different to the Northern Irish culture. And I was very aware of that first when I came to Belfast, and then when I came to Glenarm, there are more differences again. And sometimes it's really tempting when we try things like that, when we feel different, when we've tried something and failed, or we feel like we've failed when we've tried to help somebody and we've been rejected, we just want to put them in that room and we lock the door because, it just made us feel horrible and silly and, just small and just, and we put them in that room and we lock the door. Sorry, God, those things are off limits. I am not doing that again. Get them out because they're not meant to be in there. They are from God and he gave them to you to use, and they are so powerful in his hands. They're not meant to be in that room. I want to read this blog that I came across a few days ago. And and it's by Lisa Turkhurst. She's got a very hard word name to say. Carol's favourite. I can't believe Carol's not here. She loves this girl. I wanted to read this blog that she had on the other day on Facebook. I'm just going to read it. Do you ever feel overlooked by other people, or even by the world? In 1 Samuel 16, we find the story of David, a son left out in the field tending sheep while his brothers were lined up to possibly be chosen as king, a son almost completely overlooked. To his older brothers, David was young, possibly even a pest. To his father Jesse, he was just another son. To onlookers, he was a mere shepherd boy. But to God, David was the one destined to be king of Israel. And not just any king. He was from the bloodline from which Jesus would come. Overlooked by everyone else, handpicked by God. David wasn't the obvious choice to anyone, but God's method, reasoning, and rationale are not within the same framework as man. God intentionally chooses the lowly and seemingly weak to exemplify and fulfill his glorious purposes. What hope for us when we feel weak and unusable? What peace for us when we feel overlooked and undervalued by this world? God doesn't look at us the way the world looks at us. He doesn't even look at us the way we look at ourselves. Let's keep our hearts pure and humble, friends. Let's serve faithfully right where we are and trust that God sees us. God made sure that David stepped into the purposes he had for him, and God knows right where to find us for every purpose he has handpicked for us too. He knows you because he made you the way he wants you. He has made you to measure. He has no buyer's remorse. He has given you the personality he wants you to have. And sometimes I think we get a bit mixed up between personality and character, because we know our characters can always be improved. We always want to be more like Jesus. That's our constant prayer, to be more like him. And we will always be able to be more like him until we go and be with him. But I want to read this bit from The Purpose-Driven Life. It's just a tiny little excerpt, and it says this. God's ultimate goal for your life on earth is not comfort, but character development. He wants you to grow up spiritually and become like Christ. Becoming like Christ does not mean losing your personality or becoming a mindless clone. God created your uniqueness, so he certainly doesn't want to destroy it. Christ-likeness is all about transforming your character, not your personality. And I wanted to read as well from Psalm 139. And Andy read these verses to us last week as well. And I know we know them so well. And sometimes when we know them so well and we hear them so much, we feel like they can lose their impact. So I'm going to read it from the Message, just for something a little bit different. And try and forget that you've heard them a million times before, and listen as if you're hearing them for the first time. Oh yes, you shaped me, first inside, then out. You formed me in my mother's womb. I thank you, high God, you're breathtaking. Body and soul, I am marvelously made. I worship and adoration. What a creation. You know me inside and out. You know every bone in my body. You know exactly how I was made bit by bit, how I was sculpted from nothing into something. Like an open book, you watched me grow from conception to birth. All the stages of my life were spread out before you, the days of my life all prepared before I'd lived even one day. Of course, we won't be perfect. Our character can always be improved upon. We can always be more like Jesus. But our personalities are how he created them to be, how he carefully designed them and created them to be. And we are meant to be all different. And you are not to this, and you are not so this. You are just the way he created you to be. I don't mean, that's not an excuse for like, oh, I'm just really rude, but that's the way God made me. No. That's character. That can be improved upon. But it's not an excuse to just sort of, steamroll anyone in front of you because this is just who God made me. But your personality, that is who God made you to be. And I think when we're honest, we do know the difference. But sometimes we feel like we need to be like other people we know who look like good Christians. And yes, if their characters are like Jesus, then let's emulate that. But just because their characters are doesn't mean we should copy their personalities as well. Be yourself, because that's who God made you to be. And Jesus, who we're trying to be, who it's our prayer to be like every day, he is also our high priest, and he knows our weaknesses, and he knows that we won't always be perfect and get it right. Hebrews 4 says this: "Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to feel sympathy for our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." When we were a few months ago, or a few series ago, at Coast Women, we were looking at the Psalms, and we were reading, going through this book. I can't even remember which psalm we were talking about, but I know there was one night it must have been referring to the Exodus from Egypt, because we started looking at that, and I came across this verse, and it's like one of those nothing verses that you just kind of read over it, like, why is that really important? But I really felt God speak to me that night. And he brought it back to my mind when I was preparing this. And it's Exodus chapter 13, verse 17. "When Pharaoh finally let the people go, God did not lead them along the main road that runs through Philistine territory, even though that was the shortest route to the promised land. God said, if the people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led them in a roundabout way through the wilderness towards the Red Sea." And you just think, well, why does that really matter which way he took them? I just am blown away by the absolute compassion and kindness of these words. God said, if the people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. He had just brought them out of Egypt, right? The plagues, the whole on-off thing with Pharaoh, God's faithfulness through it all, his power, his might, his protection over their children, the whole Passover, incredible power on display from the King of Heaven. He's taken them out of it. He freed them from captivity. Their prayer that they've been praying for so long, he has answered it. He's freed them from captivity. He's taken them out of Egypt with Pharaoh's permission. And he says about them, if they are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. I mean, if that was me, right, and I'd done this incredible thing, I can't think of an earthly parallel that I could do, but if I did something amazing and and helped people, and then I thought that they might turn around and say, oh, actually, we're a bit scared now, we're going to go back, I would be raging. I'd just be like, hello, like, did you see what I've just done for you? And now you're just like, all right, I'm gonna just, sorry, this is a bit tricky and I'm a bit scared, so I'm just gonna head back to that situation that you've just got me out of, that I've been asking you to do for a really long time. Like, I would be so annoyed. Like, and God was so within his rights to just be like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Did you see all this stuff I've just done? But he doesn't. He just says, oh, if they are faced with a battle, they might change their minds. So he takes them another way. Like, isn't that not just the most incredible, like, just compassion and kindness and mercy and patience? Incredible. And then I was thinking about it this morning, and I realized, after that was the parting of the Red Sea. Like, it led this moment of weakness that God understood and was gentle and patient with. That then led to the parting of the Red Sea, to another incredible show of might and power. They didn't even get like, oh, well, I'll do this, but I'm going to hold it against you. Like, it was just, oh, it's just incredible that he did this, his mercy and his patience. And it's the same for us. That same mercy and patience with weakness that he had for the Israelites, he has for us. We have weaknesses, but they are known and they are understood. We don't ever have to explain them to God. He understands them. Jesus understands them, our great high priest. He knows what's at the heart of them. He knows where our weaknesses and our fears come from. But he still wants to use us. And actually, he wants to use us even in our weaknesses. We don't have to have overcome them in order to be used by God, but he wants to use us as he overcomes our weakness with us. I'm going to read another blog. I'm reading a lot this morning. I read this blog through the week too. And it's from the Encourage ladies, which is the same people that wrote our Psalms Bible study that we looked at. I'm just going to read it. One thing I've discovered is that while people see my weakness first, weakness isn't always a bad thing for others to notice. I can't tell you the number of times someone has said some variation of the following to me without getting to know me. I could tell you wouldn't judge me. I'm having a hard time and I thought you would understand. I knew you would get it. These are people who don't know a thing about me. Do I love my husband? Do I put my shopping trolley away at the end of a visit to the supermarket? How do I treat my dog? They don't know because they don't know me. But I've been given unearned access into hard places simply because of my weakness. People are looking to others to find safety in sharing their own pain. My weakness to some people is the shortcut to safe. God can and will do powerful things through those of us who give our weaknesses over to Him. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 to 10 says this. Each time He said, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses and in the insults, hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong." She goes on to say this, "I am not glorifying weakness, but God's glory shines brightest in weakness." Do I want to stay stuck? The amount of time, money, and heartbreak I've spent on counselling and programs would suggest not. But just because I don't want to stay in my weakness doesn't mean God cannot and will not use it for His glory. Don't discount yourself because of your weaknesses. God knows that you have them. He knows all about them. He understands them. And He could even use them as He helps you to overcome them. We know from Jeremiah that God knows the plans He has for us. He knows the dreams that He has for you. He knows the dreams that you have for yourself and for the people that you love. He knows what He made you for. And He knows who He made you for. He knows your family, your friends, your church, your colleagues, the people that are around you in your community for you to serve. To fully live in the purpose He has called us to will take all of us. It will take those dark corners of our souls and the transformation of them. It will take all that He has given us, the gifts, the talents, the personality, the desires, the dreams that He's put in us. We are not just a random collection of those things, but perfectly designed and created with them in us. And I just want to finish this morning by looking at the genealogies and the tribes in the Bible. Well, there are genealogies all the way through, but the tribes especially are in, a lot of them are in the first 7 or so books of the Bible. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, there were 10,000 in this tribe and 7,000 in this army, and just huge numbers. Almost you can't really imagine what that would look like standing in a big formation. And the list of names, so-and-so, son of so-and-so, son of so-and-so, son of so-and-so, and you just skim over them. And and you don't even really take them in. Sometimes you might even, if you're honest, oh, there's a genealogy, turn the page, there's the end of it, carry on reading. But they're in the Bible, so they must be there for a reason. And I remember reading a Bible study a few years ago. I can't even remember who wrote it or anything about it. I just remember them saying that, those names and even those numbers in the armies and the tribes, they're not just lists of names and numbers to God, but they are fully known and fully loved as individuals. And isn't that incredible to think that even as we're thinking about the ways God knows us this morning, it's true for every single person on this earth now and every single person that has ever lived on this earth. All those thousands of people listed, all those people in the genealogies that are just names, even the nameless people that are just in tribes and armies, and we just know how many there were. All of those people were placed in the right family. They were in the right place. They were in the right generation. They were at the right time. Think about some of the names in those lists. There were liars. There were cheaters. not cheaters, the animal, cheaters, as Richie would say, murderers, adulterers, prostitutes, cynics, foreigners, doubters, people with very dark and dingy cupboards under their stairs, people who tried and failed, people who didn't fit in, all used by God, all listed in the Bible. Some of them in the genealogy of Jesus himself. Think about Judah. Judah married off his oldest son to Tamar. Eldest son dies. Marries off his next son to her because that was tradition. He dies. Youngest son too young to get married. Tells her to wait a few years. But he thinks, I'm not marrying him after her because he'll die too. So he tricks her and she finds out. And the only way that she can get justice is to dress up as a prostitute and seduce her father-in-law. And through the children that they have and their marriage and their incredible redemptive love story, through them generations later comes Jesus. Like, what an incredible story of redemption. What a cupboard under the stairs that a guy had, yet transformed by Jesus. Why do we discount ourselves? Why do we discount ourselves? All those people in the Bible are there for many reasons, but one of them is to show us that anyone can be used by God when they give themselves to him. Some people in our lives have never read a Bible. They don't know about people like Judah and Tamar, but they know about us. And if we can live our lives in a way that shows people that we are not perfect and we have cupboards under the stairs, but we are loved by God and we are known by God and we have been transformed by God and we are being transformed by God, then it gives them hope too that they can have the same. You are the right person in the right place at the right time. You are meant to be here now. And you are the person God created you to be. He knows you every way there is to be known. There is not a single way it is possible for someone to be known that God doesn't know you. Live in the joy of that. Live in the freedom of that. He knows all about you. He knew all about you, your good and your bad, before he died for you. And he did it and he would do it again. He doesn't have buyer's remorse. He knew what he was getting and he loves what he's getting. He loves it. Live in the joy and the freedom of being fully known and fully accepted and fully loved. You know, I was thinking about this series. We've had God sees me and God wants me and now God knows me. We're going to have other ones too. They're all interlinked. You can't separate them. We are fully known. We are fully seen. We are fully wanted. We are fully loved. You can't separate them. Live in that because it's for your good. It's for the good of people around you because they will realize it's for them too. And it is for the glory of God. And that is our ultimate prayer every day, that our lives would be for his glory. Let's pray and then we're going to sing again. Jesus, everything you have given us, everything you have made us to be, we give it back to you. We say it's yours. We are yours. Every little bit of us, even the bits that make us cringe when we think about opening that door to you. Jesus, I pray today for courage for all of us, that we would open those doors of those cupboards to you and let the light in. Thank you that because of the cross, there is nothing so dark and dingy and mouldy that cannot be made beautiful by you. Bring your presence into those places today. God, give us courage to be who you've made us to be. Give us courage to live with vulnerability and with honesty and with integrity. Give us courage to give our weaknesses to you so that they can be used to glorify you. Thank you that we are here when we are meant to be here. We are the right people in the right place at the right time, God. And we give our lives to you again and we say, use us, God, to show other people that the same is true for them and to glorify you. We love you so much. Thank you for letting us partner with you. Amen.